Welcome to the NCDWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NCDWI Guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 219 of the NCDWI Guy podcast. We hold it to be self-evident that all persons are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, the enjoyment of the fruits of their own labor, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, you may have just think that I botched slightly the Declaration of Independence. This is 4th of July week, so we are going to be kind of walking through that a little bit, but that was not from the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson. That is from the North Carolina State Constitution. I start every one of these podcasts with a greeting to you all, my fellow freedom fighters. Now, who am I talking to? There's a lot of people that listen to the podcast that have told me that they listen to the podcast. I've had family members and friends that have told me that they've listened to episodes of the podcast that are not lawyers. I've had police officers, I've had prosecutors, I've had judges. But when I say hello, fellow freedom fighters, I am greeting my fellow brothers and sisters in the criminal defense bar. This is a podcast designed for lawyers. This is a podcast designed for criminal defense lawyers, my fellow freedom fighters. Now, what does it mean to be a freedom fighter? Why that terminology? Why are we talking about freedom? What do we mean when we say freedom fighters? I think it is worth, in this week of remembering our break, our request, our demand for freedom, for liberty, that we laid out, that Thomas Jefferson laid out in the Declaration of Independence, the core values of our country. That's what Thomas Jefferson did. That's what the Constitution follows up with in terms of being the standard operating procedure, the SOP of the core values laid out in the Declaration of Independence. But one reason that it is so important to me to talk to my fellow freedom fighters is because I believe that we are the last great bastion of freedom. We are what stands between freedom and the breakdown of society. To me, lawyers, and I would say particularly criminal defense lawyers and comedians, as I always say. So criminal defense lawyers and comedians are the last great bastion of freedom in this country. You may have heard a famous quote from Shakespeare: "Kill all the lawyers," right? Let's kill all the lawyers. Now, where does that come from? Is that a real quote? Yes, it is. It is from Act 4, Scene 2 of Shakespeare's Henry VI. Real quote. And Dick, character Dick, says, the first thing we do, let's kill all the lawyers. Now, who is Dick? Dick is a villainous character. He is a large, threatening murderer, and he is also the right-hand man of Jack Cade, who is leading a rebellion against King Henry. Cade and Dick are aggressively anti-intellectual. They kill anyone who can read and burn all the books and documents they encounter. They know that they'll be able to take over an ignorant population with greater ease than one where everyone understands their rights. And who is the representative for the little guy of understanding your rights in our society? It's criminal defense lawyers. We represent the ordinary man, the ordinary woman, the great people that make up our amazing country. We have the blessing and the privilege of protecting and defending the rights of our citizens, our fellow citizens. So I wanted to reflect for a few minutes, my fellow freedom fighters, on what it means to be a freedom fighter, what it means to be a champion of the Constitution. When we enter the bar, we take an oath. When we become a part of the local North Carolina State Bar, we go into the county courthouse, and in front of some district court judge, superior court judge, if you're lucky, maybe a court of appeals judge, in front of whatever court, whatever judge is presiding, we take an oath of office. We take an oath of office. And what do we swear? I, James Minnick, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. I, James Minnick, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God. I, James Minnick, do swear that I will truly and honestly demean myself in the practice of an attorney according to the best of my knowledge and ability. So help me God. We've all taken that oath of office. We've all been sworn in and promised to act honestly, to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of the state of North Carolina. And when we look at the Constitution of the United States, when we look at the Constitution of North Carolina, it is clear why it is so important for these things, these documents, these principles to be defended. The rights and freedoms contained therein, these are our primary responsibility as freedom fighters. So in regards to the North Carolina Constitution that we have all taken an oath of office to defend to the best of our ability, let me just read a few things from the North Carolina State Constitution. This is from the preamble. We, the people of the state of North Carolina, grateful to Almighty God, the sovereign ruler of nations, for the preservation of the American Union and the existence of our civil, political, and religious liberties, and acknowledging our dependence upon Him for the continuance of those blessings to us in our prosperity, do for the more certain security thereof and for the better government of this state, ordain and establish this Constitution. Every Constitution generally has a mission statement. Why are we laying out these principles? Why are we laying out the Declaration of Rights that comes next in the North Carolina Constitution? Because we want a continuance of the blessings given to us by Almighty God to our posterity. We want to ensure the continued existence of our civil, political, and religious liberties. And we want to be secure. This is the why. Every state has that some version of a preamble explaining what are we doing, laying out these specific rights. And if you just launch into your standard operating procedures, if you just launch into duties and responsibilities as an organization, as a law firm, you are greatly missing out. You need a mission for your law firm, a stated purpose, a stated mission for your law firm. You need core values in your law firm, stated clearly and in writing. The core values of our country are laid out in that great document penned by Thomas Jefferson. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. These truths are self-evident, lays out the framework, lays out the core values. What are we trying to protect? The God-given right, the God-given rights of every human being to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Martin Luther King, great orator, often used the Declaration of Independence, this great founding document, these great core values of our country in his speeches. And he once said, the Declaration of Independence proclaimed to a world organized politically and spiritually around the concept of the inequality of man, that the dignity of human personality was inherent in man as a living being. I'm going to repeat that. The Declaration of Independence proclaimed to a world organized politically and spiritually around the concept of the inequality of man, that the dignity of human personality was inherent in man as a living being. It is the bedrock of our humanity, of our equal creation, our equal standing, our equal station. Going back to the North Carolina state constitution, after the preamble, Article 1 lays out a declaration of rights for citizens of this great state. And here's how it begins: that the great, general, and essential principles of liberty and free government may be recognized and established, and that the relations of this state to the Union and government of the United States and those of the people of this state to the rest of the American people may be defined and affirmed. We do declare that. And then that first great section, the equality and rights of persons, we hold it to be self-evident that all persons are created equal. They're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, specific to North Carolina's version, Constitution, the enjoyment of the fruits of their own labor, and the pursuit of happiness. But I love this language from that section, that the great, general and essential principles of liberty and free government. The word liberty, the word free, liberty, liberties, free, freedom, free people. You see this language of freedom throughout the Declaration of Independence, throughout the Constitution of the United States, throughout the North Carolina State Constitution. We have taken, as criminal defense lawyers in North Carolina, an oath of office to defend people's freedoms. A freedom fighter is a person that is fighting for the freedom of others, that is fighting for liberty, that is fighting for free exercise of the rights, the Declaration of Rights within the North Carolina and United States Constitution. And you see these different liberties that are laid out within the Constitution of the United States and in the Constitution of the state of North Carolina. You see the freedom of speech and of the press. What does that freedom mean? Well, it imposes a right to debate, a right to give your opinion, a right to demonstrate your being upset about how government is functioning and to criticize those in office. There's freedom of religion. Freedom of religion. What is this? It's the right to offer right praise. The right to offer right praise. To have your priorities straight and to give thanks and praise to your Creator. That is mentioned throughout the Constitution of the United States and the North Carolina Constitution. Freedom to pursue your dream, right? This is the right to pursue happiness. Jeff Bezos once said, make sure that you read the Declaration of Independence to your kids every 4th of July and emphasize the pursue part. You also see Will Smith emphasizing this as well in The Pursuit of Happiness, that pursue part. Pursue. The right to chase your dream down. We have the freedom to live, the right to life. We've got to be defenders of all of these freedoms, the freedom, speech, religion, the right to pursue our dreams, the right to live, the right to life, freedom to enterprise. In the North Carolina State Constitution, again, that is mentioned as the enjoyment of the fruits of their own labor. This is a right to work and a right to be compensated for work and the right to work harder than anybody else. All of these freedoms also carry a corresponding freedom not to exercise these rights, not to engage in speech or debate, not to engage in religion, not to pursue your dream, not to pursue life, not to pursue enterprise, not to pursue work. But there's a reason why they're all kind of gauged in this positive language, because we should engage in the political debate. We should engage in religion. We should engage in the pursuit of our dreams. We should engage in a full and healthy and well-lived life. We should engage in enterprise. At the criminal level, again, lawyers are, along with comedians, the great bastion of freedom in our society. But I said, particularly with criminal defense lawyers, there are certain rights that are enumerated for those that are accused of a crime. We know what these are. We know what is laid out under the United States Constitution, what is laid out under the North Carolina State Constitution, the freedom not to speak, the right to remain silent, the freedom to have a lawyer represent you, the right to counsel, the freedom to know your crime, the right to actually be charged with something if you are in custody, if you are in the possession of the state and have lost your actual physical liberty, the freedom to know your accuser, the right to be cross-examined. We know these rights, and I think it would be well worth our time as a defense bar, as a general bar, all lawyers, to regularly reflect on the oath of office that we have taken to uphold the United States Constitution and the North Carolina State Constitution. That we are bound to do our best to uphold the freedom of citizens in our country and in our state. This is what it means to be a freedom fighter. Happy 4th of July. Go fight.